Hi there, we're going to review the types of equipment you can use in an aqua class and what exercises they're good for and better for, and some maybe you think are going to work for a certain muscle group but they're not. I'm going to start with the aqua bells. These have become super popular in the last few years, and almost every pool I've been to has the aqua bells. They kind of look like dumbbells like you would use in a gym, but they have no weight. They're just dense foam. So they are great in the water, but they're not good for things that you would do on land. So on land, when you use a set of hand weights and you're lifting your arms out to the side, you're strengthening the shoulder muscle or the medial deltoid. In the water, this is not working that muscle because the water is very buoyant, and these are buoyant, so you have buoyancy assisted movement. So if I were just to let my arms float, they would just float up. So there's no resistance. In order to strengthen a muscle, there has to be resistance on that muscle in the direction that you're moving. So these in the water, coming up, there's no resistance. However, coming down, you have resistance. You're going against the buoyancy of the water. So pulling down would be working the latissimus dorsi, so the muscles in the back. So these exercises are only really good for any downward movement. Same thing with a bicep curl, because when you're coming up with hand weights, it's the bicep, but in the water, there's no resistance coming up. So it would be a tricep exercise. So I encourage you not to call it bicep curls. If you are doing it in the water, you could say we're working the triceps, or elbow extension to work the triceps. I still people see all the time, we're going to do some bicep curls in the water. These do not work for bicep curls or working the shoulders, only on the downward movement, okay? So what are these good for? They're great if you want to add them sort of as an additional intensity for throughout your cardio component. So sometimes sort of at the end of the cardio for the last 5 minutes or so before I'm going to use these for strength, I might use them in the water just to add a little bit more intensity. So for cross country skiing or jumping jacks or jogging and pushing, that sort of thing. So they're good to have just as an addition to the cardio, sort of at the end if you're trying to think of something else what to use them for. In the water, you can also use them for chest and back. So if I'm coming to a lunge position, arms out, just squeezing forward and back, because you have resistance in both directions. So you can work the chest, the anterior deltoid, as well as the back and the rhomboids. Any kind of pushing movement is the same kind of thing. You're on the same level in the water, so you have resistance all the way through. So anything that, downward movement or lateral movements will work for the aqua bells. Paddles, hand paddles, or even the webbed gloves that you can buy. I prefer these. I use these all the time when I have a choice, because you can get resistance in all directions. So I can do bicep curls, tricep extensions. I can do, a lateral raise working the shoulders and the latissimus dorsi. You can do chest presses, pushing up and down, again, lateral movements. Even in the cardio part, you can use them. So you have resistance in all directions, regardless as to what exercise you're doing. And these are nice because you can open and close the windows. So people who don't want that much resistance can simply open the window and lighten the resistance. So paddles are anything that has, that is flat in surface and not buoyant. Same thing with flutter boards. They are buoyant. So again, any upward movement doesn't give you resistance, but downward movement does. So I like the flutter board, running forward, pushing and pulling, that kind of thing. These are great to add in the cardio as well. Sometimes I'll just use them and we'll do flutter kicks across the pool just as an added sort of an interval at the end of the class or in the middle of the class if you want to have some high intensity intervals. So these are good for that, strengthening or using in the cardio part as well. These are something we have in one of our pools. So these are nice if people can't hold on to the paddles or the dumbbells, or it's just too much resistance. These are just give you a little bit of resistance, and you just keep your hands in there and you can hold a nice light grip, and you do get a little bit of resistance where it's not overloaded. And this is nice for people who have arthritis and maybe can't grip tight, so they can it can just kind of hold your hand in there so they won't really slip off. You can hold them with a nice light grip. And you don't have to use tools at all in the pool. So your hands are really great for resistance. Anything that I did with the equipment, I can do with my hands, encouraging participants to keep their fingers together, hands cupped or flat. You can add, resistance in both directions, bicep curls, tricep extensions, chest and back, that sort of thing. So it's really good to educate your participants in the water throughout their class of how they can use their body to maximize resistance. And the nice thing is in the pool, it doesn't matter what direction you're moving, you always have resistance. So for instance, on land, I can do a bicep curl with a weight, but I have to do a different exercise for my triceps. So I have to do a tricep kickback or overhead tricep, so I have resistance. Where in the water, you have resistance in both directions. So whether you're using equipment, not the aqua belts, but the flattened paddles, whatever, you get resistance in both directions. So it's actually a little bit more efficient as far as time-wise. Don't ever feel you need to use equipment. You don't have to. It is nice. It gives people sort of an option and something different to do throughout the class. So just think about that and how the buoyancy of the water affects the equipment you use. I can't stress that enough. The aquabells, they look great. They look like you're doing strong exercises, but really it's only in the downward movement. Okay, so you could do push-ups with them pressing down as well, but they're not really as efficient as using paddles or some type of resistance equipment. All right, I just want you to practice in the water with some of these just so you get a feel for how you could use them, and maybe practice different exercises and see what you think. The other thing about resistance in the water is the faster you go, the more resistance you have. So just using your hands, going faster, you're going to feel it more than if you just let the water move you. Lever length, same thing. Straight arms is going to be harder than bent elbows. So even jogging, if people are jogging in the pool, bent elbows, fists closed or fingers open is going to be a lot easier than straight arms with fingers together. Okay, so just different ways you can increase and decrease intensity even with or without equipment. All right, thanks.